Is this really worse than working for like an oil conglomerate? Not really. Don't be fooled by the sweat. That guy who kind of looks like an egg and he's really good at punching. This really fits the prompt well and I'm a little mad about it.
Of my favourite series ever. So Rachel, I hope you love it. And if you don't, we're not friends anymore.
I'm Rachel, this is Let Me in the Library, and today we're going to do my July TBR. I'm very excited about this month's TBR because it is my birthday month, so I am definitely trying to prioritize the books that I really want to read this month, and some of that includes some books that have been on my TBR for way too long that I have been putting off for a long time, and other ones are just books that are like guilty pleasures for me that I just want to dive in and enjoy without any guilt this month. So, first off, we are going to do my TBR game. I roll a bunch of 20-sided dice. Oh, we've lost one. It's fine. I roll some 20-sided dice, and whatever these land on will correspond to some different prompts. That will determine what I read for the month. Then we're going to go into the readathons and the other business, the buddy reads, everything else. So first, let's get right into it and see what I rolled. We have a 5, a 6, an 8, an 11, a 10, and an 18. So let's see. 5 is a spin the bottle, which could be fun. A 6 is a buddy read. An 8 is a popular YA book. A 10 is play the Bogoplathon board. 11 is the random A to Z generator, and 18 is a graphic novel, manga, or novella. Welcome back. So the first thing you'll see that I rolled was a 5, which means that we're going to play Spin the Bottle. So I laid out a whole bunch of books in a circle and then I played Spin the Bottle, and whatever this pointed to is exactly what I was going to read, and this time I got Yoke. Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi is actually the Winer's Book Club pick, so this worked out perfectly for me, so I didn't have to stack my TBR a little bit too much this month. This is a story about a girl who kind of has distanced herself from her family and now at this point discovers that her younger sister has cancer and decides to go back home and kind of reconcile their relationship and take care of her. That's my understanding of it, and I know that this is also Casey's favorite book of 2021, which is great because Casey's actually going to be a guest host for the Winer's Book Club live show that's going to be happening next month on Darian's channel. So I'm very excited about this book. I don't really understand why this is Casey's favorite book, knowing that she hates eggs, but I do think it's going to be a good book. Next up, I rolled a 6, which means a buddy read. So for this, I am actually choosing something you've probably seen on a TBR before if you've been around here since the very beginning. And that book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is a book I actually received for my birthday last year, and I'm still very grateful, so thank you very much. But please don't come for me because I haven't read it yet. But this month I'm going to, because I'm actually buddy reading this with a whole bunch of other booktubers, which will hopefully help me to stay accountable. So I am buddy reading this with Christine from the Roomies Digest, Nicole from Cup of Nicole, and Noelle from Noelle 7 Pages. I think that this is going to be a banger. I've been recommended this book because I really love Red Rising, and I've been told that this is very similar to that in some way, shape, or form, and also that it just has a lot of the same like epic fighting sort of fantasy-ish vibes that Red Rising had, so I'm really hoping that I love this. Next up, I rolled an 8, which means that I have to read a popular young adult book. So for this, I chose With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a very highly acclaimed book from a lot of friends and other booktubers and just book-ish people who seem to really love this story. This is a story about 17-year-old Imani who recently became a mother, and she is also taking an elective in high school for cooking, and she is really skilled at cooking, and it's her dream to become a chef one day, perhaps at a major restaurant. She's not sure if she should give up her dream of being a chef for the sake of her young daughter, who she loves very much, but she is a single mother, so she is struggling a little bit to try to make ends meet as far as taking care of school, taking care of her daughter, taking care of bills, and also having a part-time job, and also wanting to become a chef. Okay, so next is the Bogoplathon board, because I rolled a 10. So when I roll a 10, I play the Bogoplathon board, and this time I actually landed on chance. And so I think with the chance cards in the traditional game, you're kind of supposed to just like pick books that maybe you want to read and maybe you don't want to read, but I thought the most ultimate chance thing would be to totally take it out of my hands and just give it to a different booktuber. So I'm going to have a different booktuber choose the book for me that I'm going to read for this prompt, and that booktuber is Yasmin from Yasmin B. Readin'. Take it away, Yasmin.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. So the book I initially wanted Rachel to read was Law by Alexandra Bracken, but for some weird reason, Rachel didn't want to read that. I don't know. So the book I'm going to make her read instead is Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. This is the first book of my favourite series ever. So Rachel, I hope you love it. And if you don't, we're not friends anymore.
Thank you for not choosing Lore Yasmin, but yes, as Yasmin said, I'm going to be reading Skullduggery Pleasant. This is one of Yasmin's favorite books ever. I know that this is like her series of unfortunate events for me. I also like really don't know what this is about. I think this is like a skull man who runs around and goes on adventures. It's a series. I don't know anything else about it, but I've heard it's really, really good, of course, from Yasmin, and I trust her, so I think it'll be great. Next, I rolled at 11, so I play a random letter generator wheel. From there, I have to read a book whose title or author's name begins with that letter, which was chosen by the wheel. So this time, the wheel chose H. The one that I finally decided on was Hench. I have been really meaning to read this for a really, really long time, ever since I found out what it was about. This is about a girl named Anna who works as a temp at a villain agency. And she's like, is this really worse than working for like an oil conglomerate? Not really. So she works there, but one day they all get attacked by a hero and she makes it out alive, but it seems like she's like the lucky one compared to everyone else because everybody else is like really, really badly hurt. And she realizes maybe these heroes are really not like the good guys, and looking at the data, this has been happening a lot. So she kind of compiles all the data for this and she ends up working for the biggest villain on Earth or something like that, like the worst villain on Earth. And from there, she's using data science and like millennial office politics type stuff to like uncover the truth and maybe save the world. So this sounds like so much fun to me, honestly. Like this just sounds super fun. I'm really excited about this book. The last thing that I rolled was an 18, which means that I'm going to be reading a graphic novel, manga, or a novella. So I have chosen the first book in the series that we are reading for the host club, which is the manga book club. And this is on my channel. Okay. I'm reading Skip Beat Volume 1, which is a book that I really, really loved. I loved this series so much growing up. It's so much fun. This is a story about a girl named Kyoko who follows her childhood friend who is trying to become an idol to Tokyo. And so she goes there to support him, but one day she kind of realizes that he doesn't appreciate her at all and just kind of sees her as like his maid instead of even as his friend. And she totally loses it. So she decides the best form of revenge is to be even better than he is. So she decides that she's going to become a famous actress and beat him at his own game. So she enters this like agency, but they have like a weird program for people who don't have any experience or anything like that, and she ends up in that program. This is a lot of fun. This has like a lot of the fun tropes that I love, where you kind of have to like prove yourself in sort of like a academy-ish setting. So I'm really excited about this. We are reading all 3 volumes of this series for this month, and we are also actually going to be reading 1 volume of Mashle. Mashle is a manga that's kind of like if you took One Punch Man and you took Mob Psycho 100 and you put them together. So there is a guy with really, really powerful muscles, and usually strength is valued by people's magical psychic abilities, but he doesn't have any. So he ends up going to this school for psychic magic powers, and he actually just uses his muscles and his strength to succeed in the academy. This is supposed to be like a fun manga, I think, like just a comedy manga, so I am looking forward to it, and this is the obscure pick for the Manga Book Club. If you're not familiar with the Manga Book Club, what we do is every month we pick 3 volumes of a popular manga, and then we pick 1 volume of a more obscure manga, and we read all of that together, and then we discuss it at our live show. This month's live show is going to be on my channel, so don't forget to look out for that. I will post on Twitter and on the community tab whenever I officially know when that's going to be, but keep an eye out. That's going to be towards the end of the month. Okay, so we've done it. We have completed the dice game. Hooray, goodbye! No, we have so many more books to go through. Don't even click off. Don't click off. Please don't click off. Oh my god, we got so many more books to talk about right now. Okay, first I want to talk about the readathon I am participating in this month, which is the Tarot Readathon. This is being hosted by a bunch of friends, including Noelle from Noelle 7 Pages, Jess from Books Past Bedtime, Brittany from Literarily Smitten, and Deja from Deja's Book World. So I am choosing a team, I'm declaring my team, and then I have chosen a bunch of books virtually. No, I've chosen a bunch of cards virtually because I don't have a tarot deck, but the way this works is you pull different cards from tarot decks, and each of those correspond to a book prompt. I have chosen a bunch. I may have been a little bit, maybe my eyes were bigger than my reading stomach because I picked a lot of cards, and this readathon only runs from the 10th to the 24th. The 24th is my birthday, so I don't know. I guess the 24th will be a day of rest for me, maybe. So I don't know why I did that. But I chose 12 cards, and we're going to talk about the 12 books that I'm going to be reading for the Tarot Readathon. So first off, I'm declaring my team. I am Team Swords, which has a good thing and a bad thing. So the advantage is that I can double up one time. So I can use one book for 2 prompts, but only once, and that's it. The disadvantage is one of the books that I choose has to be left to chance, whether that's a friend picking it for you or a poll or something like that. So luckily, Yasmin already picked a book for me at random, and I can actually use that for the cards that I chose. First, I pulled a 2 of Cups. So 2 of Cups means that I have to read a book with a healthy relationship. So I have actually gotten a few other booktubers to do a little buddy read with me for this series, but I'm going to be reading volume 2 of Sweat and Soap. If you've been around on this channel for a little bit, you may have seen that I really loved Sweat and Soap. I had to read it in December. I read volume 1 and I adored it. It was so cute and it was so fun. It is a office romance manga, and it is about a girl who goes to work at kind of like a soap place in the office, and there's the guy who makes the different scents for the soaps, and they have a very cute and very healthy relationship. Don't be fooled by the sweat. It's very steamy, but it's very healthy. Next up is the 4 of Cups, which is to read a book that you've been meaning to read but you haven't had time to. So for this, I'm using Skullduggery Pleasant, which of course Yasmin chose for me already for earlier in my game. I pulled the 8 of Swords, and the 8 of Swords means that I have to read a genre that I don't typically read. So I actually don't really read that much fantasy, or at least I don't read much high fantasy. So, of course, the most logical book for me to choose is this bad boy, The Priory of the Orange Tree. This is another buddy read I'm actually doing this month with a couple of friends. I am reading this with Lisa from With Love Lisa, Darian from Darian Reads, and Sid from Sid Bookworm, as well as Taylor from Made Between the Pages. Apparently I have to read this before my birthday, so I will do that as best as I can. But yeah, then I pulled the card The World, which means I need to read a book that's set in a different country. So for this, I am trying to go easy on myself, and I have chosen Skippy Volume 1 because this takes place in Japan, in Tokyo, which is not where I live. Next, I pulled the Wheel of Fortune card, which means that I need to read a book where characters are destined to be together. And I went through all of the books that I pulled aside that I kind of wanted to read, and I really couldn't find anything except for this one book, and I feel like this really fits the prompt well, and I'm a little mad about it, but the answer, the book, is This Is How You Lose the Time War. You know what this is about, right? We don't have to talk about what this is about. It's on my TBR every single month. It's sapphic time travel agents who fall in love, who love each other very much. Okay, yeah. Well, I've been seeing a lot of friends read this recently, so I think I'm going to give it another chance. I never, officially DNF'd this or anything, but I just have such a hard time actually sitting down and reading my book, so it looks like we're going to have to do some reading sprints, so I can definitely get through this one this month. Next, I pulled the Ace of Wands, which means you need to read a book that you should have read by now already, and for that, I have chosen, got it, Mistborn. I definitely could have used this for This Is How You Lose the Time War, but I think Mistborn is more of what I want to go for because I can only double up once, and I definitely want to double up on something that has a few more pages than Little Miss This Is How You Lose the Time War. Not very long. Why haven't I read it yet? Okay, next is the 6 of Swords, which is a coming-of-age story, so I am choosing Yoke for that. The King of Cups prompt is to read a book with a logical main character, so for this I'm choosing Artemis, which I actually didn't get to last month. Artemis is a story about a young woman who is on the moon who is going to perform a heist, which sounds really cool, and it's by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. The next card I pulled was The Hermit, which is to read a book that makes you want to just curl up and read for hours, and I am choosing another manga because I want to, and I chose Case Closed Volume 20. I have not talked about Case Closed on my channel for a little while, but I love Case Closed. It is a murder mystery manga. It is one of my favorite ever things to read, and it just is so easy to just marathon the entire series, so that's my choice for this one. The next card I pulled was the 4 of Wands, which is to read a book with a large, diverse friend group, and I am choosing Heartstopper Volume 4 for this. I read 3 volumes of Heartstopper last month for a 24-hour readathon, and I absolutely adored the entire thing, so I definitely want to keep going. The next card that I pulled was the Five of Pentacles, which is to read a book that you don't think is going to be a 5-star read, but you still want to read it anyway, and for this I am doubling up with my advantage to use Priory of the Orange Tree. I have seen a lot of friends rate this kind of low, or at least like 3 stars. I have seen some people rate it 2 stars, which I'm a little concerned about. So it makes me think this isn't going to be a 5-star book, but I do still think that I will like it, hopefully, and that I will enjoy it based on what I've read of it so far. And because it's such a big boy, this is like 850 pages, and the page count counts double when you double up, so I definitely wanted to use my biggest book. And the last card that I pulled was the Six of Cups, which is to read a book that is set in the past, like the timeline is in the past of the book, and for this I am using the last volume of Red River, volume 28. I have recently marathoned the entire Red River manga series, which is about a girl who gets sent back into the past to ancient Anatolia, which is like modern day Turkey, and she ends up living a very strange life there, where she kind of becomes a princess, and she kind of is on the run from the evil queen who is trying to kill her so that way she can use her blood in a sacrifice to put her young son on the throne by killing off all of the other princes in line to inherit the throne. It's a really fun series, and I've really been enjoying it, but I'm really happy that I pulled my card right before I finished the entire series, so that way I could still use the last book for this readathon. Okay, so that's it that I'm going to be reading for the tarot readathon, and then I still have a couple of other books that I want to talk to you about outside of readathons and outside of my TBR game. I do want to read Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. This is the same author that wrote Yoke. This is the book club pick for the 20-something book club, which is hosted by my friends Casey and Mafalda, so I do want to read this so I can participate in the conversation that we have at the end of this month. I also have Darling by Kay Ankrum. This is a modern day Peter Pan retelling. It doesn't have any magic in it, it's just a very contemporary setting, and this is the Winners Book Club pick for last month, and we were just doing our live show this month on Wednesday the 14th, so I do need to hurry up and finish that before the live show. I also really want to read When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I've seen this book around so often, and I finally actually got a hold of it for the audiobook, so I'm really excited to read this. This is a story of gentrification in a very, like, an insidious, creepy way, where our main character is living in Brooklyn, and she notices that a lot of white folks tend to move in and take over the area. She is noticing that, like, everybody who goes on these different, like, tours of the area don't really know the actual town itself, and all the people who currently live there, so she actually puts together this whole itinerary and this whole informational spiel about all the different people who actually currently live there, and she decides to do her own tour. And while she's there, she ends up teaming up with this other guy who is kind of new to the area, and together they start to realize that there might be more than meets the eye. So I have another book on the TBR, not really a happy book, so I don't know why I chose it for this month, but I do want to read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I've seen a lot of people talk about this recently and just say that it is a really, really fantastic book. I know it is one of my friend's favorite books, Jess from Books Past Bedtime, so I do want to read this very badly. So the author here is talking about her experience in an abusive relationship with another woman and a lot of the, like, psychological abuse that she went through. And what's very interesting is this is also kind of like a choose your own adventure style book. It is nonfiction, but it doesn't read that way from what I've heard. I really like nonfiction, so I'm not really sure what that means, but I am really excited about this book because I've just seen nothing but really incredible reviews for this book, and I'm hoping that I adore it. Getting back into the sphere of manga, I have a couple of other manga that I really want to read this month, including One Punch Man. I just picked up a whole bunch of volumes of One Punch Man from my library. This is the series that is about that guy who kind of looks like an egg, and he's really good at punching, and he's so good at it that he can defeat any person or creature with a single punch. I told myself that I would finish this series this year for sure, so I'm doing it all this month. That series is Attack on Titan, so I got all of the different volumes from the library that are left in the series, from volume 23 to like 33. I have all of them here, and I'm going to read all of them this month, ideally. I got really obsessed with these last month and the month before, and when I did, I just could not stop reading them, so I do want to pace myself so I can still catch up with all the other books that are on this TBR, but I totally adore the series. I think it's so much fun and is so, like, dark and amazing, so I really want to read this, for sure. So I have a couple of leftovers. I'm not going to go into what these are about because they have been on my TBR and I've talked about them in previous videos, so I will link those if you're interested, but I'm just going to briefly go over these and who I am reading them with because some of these have turned into buddy reads. So I am doing Know My Name by Chanel Miller, and I am buddy reading this with Nitty from Nitty Ready Reads. I am also doing Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Hong, which I am buddy reading with Casey from Casey Can Read, and I'm also reading The Poppy War still, which I am buddy reading with Yasmin from Yasmin be reading. So, this is the stack. You can't even see the whole thing in the frame, but this is the stack, which doesn't even include the manga, or any of the audiobooks, or any of the online stuff I'm also going to be reading this month. Here you go, sneak peek. Here is the stack of everything that I'm going to be reading this month. I am excited about it. Everything on this TBR I'm very, very thrilled about, so I do think this is going to be a really great reading month. Thanks so much for watching this. If you want to yell at me about any of these books, whether it is to hurry up and read this book because it's amazing and I loved it so much, or oh my god, I hated that book, it was so terrible, or Rachel, why have you still not read This Is How You Lose the Time War? Let me know down below. I do love to hear from you. Even if it is yelling, I will still accept it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, of course you can do so down below, and you can like this video to let me know that you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm just taking my thumbnail right now, so don't worry about it. I'm Rachel, this is Living in the Library, and I'll see you next time. Bye!